This is Jovan Jones, and you're looking at Extra Time TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Extra Time TV. This is Sooklal, and once again, I'm joined by James Baird, the man from Scotland. We're still exhausted from the Euros and the Copa America, but the football continues, the Gold Cup. And Trinidad and Tobago got an amazing result against Mexico, a 0-0 draw against the pre-tournament favorites, Mexico, coached by Tata Martino. James, let me hear your thoughts on this game.
I mean, completely blown away by the result, Andre. It's a great performance. The resilience and the teamwork that the team put together was nothing short of fantastic. I thought every single player worked their socks off, from Marvin Phillip, who had probably the game of his life, exceptional there, to the players that came in. It was a team that came in and we didn't expect a lot of these players to play. And they did, and they really showed up for their country. They did themselves proud and they got themselves a point. So it was a great day all round for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. I'm going to take a quick look at the stats because before heading into the game, even the best analysts, and I don't care what anybody says, that looked highly favorable towards Mexico. And, this is why we love the game. Because they put on a performance that was very admirable. We all know the problems they had, James. We all know the problems. We spoke about it in our preview. And a quick look at the stats. Mexico got a whopping 82% possession. We know how Tata Martino plays. Trinidad got 18, obviously. They parked the bus and they did create the occasional opening when Mexico started to get a bit more desperate. A lot of us were shocked that Marvin Phillip started instead of Frienderup, although Marvin Phillip is great and he had a great performance. Everybody is singing his praises. So as a goalkeeper, James, what did you think about the absence of Nicholas Frienderup and also the performance of Marvin Phillip?
Well, I think, first of all, it was definitely the right move. No disrespect to Nicholas Frienderup, but I think in terms of the leadership, because, I mean, let's be honest, we know the notable absentees in the squad. Obviously, Highland was not there. We expected, obviously, Molino to come in and be captain. He wasn't. So they really needed a leader there, and Marvin has those qualities, and he's an exceptional goalkeeper. He came in, and as I say, he was absolutely magnificent. Some of his saves are breathtaking. I thought he led the team well. And I think that combined organisation with himself, Abu Bakar, Aubrey David, really worked a treat for Trinidad and Tobago. And I think, as I say, I mean, obviously Mexico had a whole barrage of shots. I mean, it was shooting from everywhere. They threw everything except the kitchen sink at us, and they couldn't get past us. So it's a real credit to Marvin and to the team. It was a team performance. And I have to say, you've got to give a lot of credit to Angus Eve as well. As I say, some would say it's a masterstroke. I mean, I didn't even think of it before the game, and I'll be honest. So for him to come up with that, he obviously did his homework. He watched, obviously, Mexico. I mean, the injury to Chucky Lozano obviously was a big talking point. I think that did have a bearing on the game, but can't take anything away at all from Trinidad.
Yes. And for all of those who know me and watch Extra Time TV, I'm a massive fan of the three centre-backs with two wide players. It's a beautiful formation. And I think, to be honest, that was the only way you could have approached this game. I mean, I know a lot of people were saying, parking the bus is ugly. But what are we supposed to do? Attack them head on and then lose? I mean, that's just not smart. It's about getting results at this stage. It's a tournament. And maybe in a friendly, you could probably try these things. And I think the formation is great. I think Rodolfo Abubakar was perfect for this kind of formation. He hasn't played in a long time. And yes, it's not the prettiest thing, but for those who love tactics and various tactics, this is why the game is beautiful, James. A team that is very good. Make no mistake, folks. Tata Martino and Mexico have a very good team. And we'll touch on that quickly before we head on to other things. They are pre-tournament favorites. He plays an attacking style of football, high pressing. And we've seen this happen before. I mean, look at the Euros. I mean, there were a lot of things that took place that shocked a lot of people. And to me, this style of football was perfect for the game. I personally, and I will put my hands up, did not believe that we could have sustained that for 90 minutes, but we did. And credit to the players. A coach can give you tactics and instructions, but as you know, James, you're a coach. Getting them to execute and buy into those tactics is quite a different matter altogether. It's not FIFA, folks. You can't just pick a lineup and then go on the field. There's a lot of human elements in there. James knows this. Anybody who's been around football knows you can be the most brilliant manager, but if your players don't buy in, it doesn't work. And, kudos to everybody involved. And I'm even going to say Terry as well. We have been undefeated in all competitive games. So with all the mayhem that's going on in Trinidad and Tobago football, we haven't been defeated, James. I mean, this Mexico thing shows us that if Trinidad and Tobago finally decides to work together, we may be able to do something. But that's a whole other topic. We'll talk about it. So, James, let's talk about Mexico real quick before we move along. We know Tata Martino likes to play, the 4-3-3. They didn't get the goals, of course. But do you think that this is going to change their approach heading into the tournament as they go along?
Well, obviously, they'll have to find a replacement for Chucky Lozano. I don't expect him to play any of the group stage games. I mean, whether he'll come back if they make it up, well, I'll say if, when, you could say either, and they make it to the knockout stages. But I think their inability to score, to find a goal, would be a concerning factor in my opinion. They played the ball, they played some nice balls wide. Jesus Corona had a decent game. Fuens Mora tried, but Gutierrez as well until he was taken off. So they, as I say, they threw everything, as I said, except the kitchen sink. I think they lacked maybe a little creativity, in my opinion, in the middle of the field. I thought Edson Alvarez, to me, he's a centre-back from where I've seen him play before. I think he was playing as a centre midfielder, which I find a little strange. But, sometimes you have to pull in the bigger players to try and cover the positions, so maybe that's why. But I just think they're going to have to find their creative edge, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to score goals to win the tournament. They're going to have to find that creativity, that spark in there. And they looked to, as soon as that injury happened, they just looked, after about 20 or 30 minutes, I think, out of ideas. They were trying and they were going wide. And then as soon as they got in front of our back five, they just, didn't really know what to do. Albeit Marvin Phillip had some great saves. But as I say, from their point of view, they're going to have to either come up with a new plan or step it up a little bit.
Yep. And I think, truth be told, we've been analyzing games for a long time together, James, and just looking at football in general. Attacking teams, usually these days, teams are not afraid to sit back and park the bus. And oftentimes attacking teams like Mexico prefer teams, to attack them, and usually that's why when you see the top teams play each other, both teams are not afraid to go at each other. In a lot of ways, we could make some comparisons to Italy versus England when England sat back. But that's a whole other story. Let's not talk about that because it's not coming home.
But just to talk about what you're saying, it makes it easier for them because it stretches the lines, in a sense. So they get space, obviously, in between the defence and midfield and then in behind. We did not allow that space because we played very compact in terms of between the lines, and also we had the numbers behind the ball. At times it was only Rion Moore that was up front, who I have to say, you've got to give him a lot of credit as well. He did very well. He held up the ball a few times and he had two chances that could have just, on another day went, he could have got one of them, and that was Trinidad getting the win. And then the other point you have to think about too is, I know they're talking about all these chants and things. Angus Eve came out and said that, Trinidad should have had the win. But it's sad that these things elements are coming into the game that, could affect. At the end of the day, the referees or CONCACAF could have given the point to Trinidad, which, would have made it, ridiculous for Mexico. So there's a whole bunch of things you have to consider too.
Yeah, correct. And, now that you brought that up, this is not the first time this has happened. I remember in the Gold Cup, which we drew 4-4, which we actually did a video on, headed at Silence Mexico, featuring Yohance Marshall. It was 4-3. Jovan Jones had to take a corner, and they were throwing everything they could think of at Jovan. And in any football stadium anywhere in the world, they would stop, at least try to sort things out, or maybe even, blow things off. I don't know. But they never did. You can check that video out. In fact, because it's so correlated to now, I'll put a link in the description below. You all can check it out. It's a nice story as well. But this is a very real issue. We're seeing the hooliganism even after the Euro finals and so on that needs to be dealt with. And to be honest, I think Mexico, in this particular case and in previous cases, have shown that when things are not going well, their fans, really get away with murder sometimes. But, fans, you can let us know in the comment section below. What do you think about that? Obviously, it was unacceptable. The things that were said, what was going on. And, we need to take a harder stance on these things. But it's crazy. It's crazy. So, James, as it stands, A lot of people would not have believed this, but right now it's El Salvador with 3 points, Mexico with 1, and Trinidad and Tobago with 1. So with that being said, and heading into this next game, which we'll talk about in another video coming up, do you think Trinidad and Tobago could now make it out of this group?
It all depends on what we do tomorrow evening, because at the end of the day, I think it's the top 2 teams that qualify. Now, if we were to go and take a point out of this game and then maybe beat Guatemala, it put us to 4. We could see our results going our way. It is still tough. I mean, the good thing is, when I was looking at the stats, and we spoke about this off before, that in the last 5 times that Trinidad and Tobago's played El Salvador, Trinidad and Tobago's won 3 and El Salvador's drew 2, and they've not won in the last 5. So those stats, speak volumes for Trinidad and Tobago. Are we the same team that was then? Not necessarily. But as we saw in the last game, anything can happen. So, do we have a chance? Yes. But it all comes down to I think we're going to have to play a little differently than we played the last game. We want to keep the same resilience, the same strength at the back, but we're going to have to throw a few players forward a little bit more. Probably Molino will come in. I'd imagine Hackshaw will come back in as well. We will try and probably play in transition, when we win the ball from, defence to attack, and try and hit them, hopefully. And as I say, anything's possible. If there's one thing the Mexico game tells us, we do have the fight and the spirit, so we will see.
Yes. So James and I will definitely do a pretty much preview for that game. So stay tuned for that. And usually we do these videos a lot quicker, folks. But, there's so much football. Copa America, the Gold Cup, and the Euro finals. James and I, it's hard to believe that we are human. We are human. So, James, any final thoughts on the player that really stood out for you? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's Marvin Phillip.
No doubt about it, Marvin Phillip. I think he was excellent. I actually sent him a congratulations after the game, because he was, as I say, he was exceptional. And I think I would love to see him get hooked up with a new club now. I think he is out of contract. And when you play that well, there has to be teams that are interested in big teams, because he deserves a real crack at something. He's been an excellent goalkeeper. Albeit, yes, I think he's 36, but he still has a good few years to go. So any teams watching out there, give Marvin a call.
Yep, and anybody who knows Caribbean players knows that Caribbean players can go all the way into their late 30s and still be very effective. It's just, maybe it's something in the oceans. Good job. Marvin has always been a loyal servant of Trinidad and Tobago. He's not a very loud vocal guy. He goes about his business. I remember all those years, it was him and John Michael Williams, and he showed what he can do. So, folks, like I said, this was an amazing game. Thank you for sticking with us, because we took a little while to get this reaction up. But James and I will be doing our preview for the next game. Can we make it out of the group? We'll discuss that coming up. So like I always do, and I always say, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment in the comment section below. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to purchase merch in the link below. Some people have been buying, which I'm pleasantly surprised. So continue to do that, because when you do that, the profits that we get goes towards the kids who have been affected by COVID in my area in Trinidad and Tobago. So the more we purchase, the more it helps. You actually are helping somebody. So James, it's been a pleasure. And folks, stay tuned, because we'll be doing our match preview for Trinidad and Tobago versus El Salvador coming up. Just a reminder, everyone, for more episodes with Shaka Hislop, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, interviews, and content.